Goodness. What's up, guys? It's your boy Mayhem Matthew. Today we're going to obviously the Touchdown Tuesdays. This is a premiere just for you because we keep on bringing you the best content in the world. I got with me Christian Ballard of Ballard Sports Media. My name is Mayhem Matthew. If you haven't checked out our channels, please give us both a like on the video, and if you really like this video, leave us both a subscription. It's completely free. How you doing, Ballard?
I'm good, man. It's great to be here. And the reason we're doing a premiere this week is because of my schedule tomorrow with class and work. So just not enough time in the day to really put together a live stream. So we're going to premiere it this week, but we hope to get back to being live on Touchdown Tuesdays very soon.
Right. So what's the first topic of the day?
So the big thing we want to get to, you got a very interesting experience this past weekend. So talk to us about that. Mayhem went to the Auburn, Georgia game in Auburn, Alabama. How was it? What'd you eat? Who'd you go with? Talk about all that.
So yeah, I did go to the Auburn game, or the Georgia Auburn game. So it was, obviously a atmosphere like no other. I mean, the Auburn fans were loud, and they had that stadium bumping, right? They had the stadium moving. It was electric. In it was especially whenever Auburn got up 10-0, that crowd was wild, right? Got to see the eagle fly to the down the stadium, and that tradition that Auburn does. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the second half in person because my uncle, he got sick. I brought my uncle with me to the Auburn game. I didn't get to watch the second half due to sickness, but my uncle is all great and good right now. But I did watch the first half of the game in person. I ended up watching the second half of the game at a shrimp place in Auburn, and Georgia pulled out a victory. It was a close one. I wish it wasn't that close, but a lot of people think if you don't blow somebody out by 20 or 30 points, then you just suck, right? Georgia fans just has gotten used to blowing teams out. And that's just not true to say that Georgia's a horrible team if you don't blow a team out, right? Number one, Alabama, the last four number one ranked teams to come through Auburn, Jordan-Hare Stadium, lost. All right. So we finally broke that, I guess, that pattern. We finally broke. We broke that streak of, losing, number one teams losing to Auburn at Jordan-Hare. Very hostile environment. Very hot. It was extremely hot. A lot of people passing out during the game. And it was if you didn't drink any water, then you would have been dehydrated in the stands. It was extremely hot in the game. So, but anyways, I had a great time. I definitely felt the experience that everybody's talking about at Jordan-Hare. I would love to go back. Maybe in 2 years I'll go back to the Georgia Auburn game at Jordan-Hare again. I had a really good time, and it was fun. So that's that.
Yeah, I definitely have it on my bucket list to try to visit each SEC stadium. I've only been to one college football game, of course, Millis and X-Wing, and who went to go watch Vanderbilt. I am looking into, and it's not a guarantee, but going to Rocky Top next year for the third Saturday game. I'd love to make possibly an Iron Bowl at Jordan Hare. This year is probably short notice, but maybe let it be a couple years, maybe go in 25 or 2027, sometime down the road. No matter how good the teams are, that experience I think would be amazing.
Right. And since we're talking about the Georgia Auburn game, I wrote down some notes and I wanted to tell y'all what I think about the game. Um, so I came to a conclusion that Georgia's running game, number one, has to get better. Seems like we just need a better rushing attack. And then Beck's interception gave the ball at the to the Auburn at the 50-yard line. So Auburn only had half a field to work with, which was in Auburn's favor, obviously. Oscar Delp had a fumble, which gave Auburn the ball on UGA's own 30-yard line, which set up an Auburn touchdown later in Auburn's drive. Um, Also, that's 14 points gave up by Georgia's offense. So we need obviously Georgia's offense needs to clear up just simple mistakes that Georgia normally doesn't make. That's 14 points you gave up. If you don't make them mistakes, maybe you're looking at a 27-6 defensively. Giving up 200 yards is uncalled for if you're Georgia. But one good thing that we did was, well, Auburn has no passing attack. They only threw for 88 yards, and that's by two quarterbacks, right? But like I said, the other stat was the both quarterbacks ran all over the field on Georgia, and that's unacceptable. But just like Kirby Smart stated in his press conference, unless you have elite defensive line, elite linebackers, and elite safeties that are pretty much perfect all game, one misfit is a 9-yard run. So just remember that. I mean, they were doing it the whole entire game. So you would have to be perfect literally the whole game. Plus the hostile environment Auburn had. It's on the road. This is Georgia's first road game of the year. Carson Beck's very first road game as a starter in his college career. He was like 23 of 33, over 300 yards passing and a touchdown. Yeah, he had the interception, but I mean, give credit to Auburn's defensive guy. He made a explosive play and got in front of I want to say, was it Rosamie Jackson? I can't remember, but he got in front of the guy and he just grabbed that ball and snatched it right out of the receiver's hands. He made a great play on the field. So give credit to Auburn's defense. We already knew coming into the game that Auburn was going to have a pretty good defense anyways. Like I said, Auburn had a lot of I think Georgia's passing defense was elite. Third down defense, Georgia's third down defense. I think Auburn was 3 of 12 on third downs, and a lot of them third downs were like third and ones, right, or third and twos, and we stopped them. So I think our third down defense was elite. Speaking about Georgia's offense, I think our third down offense was elite. We were like 8 for 10 on third downs. That is a ridiculous stat. That's what I mean. I think that's the game winner right there. Third downs on both sides of the ball is what won Georgia the game this past Saturday. And then I also see a lot of potential for Georgia to get better. Like I said, it was a road game versus Auburn, and I already told you about the last four teams that were ranked number one lost at Jordan Hare. So I do see a lot of potential. I think Carson Beck is getting better every single game, and if you don't see that, then I don't know what type of football you're watching. Because we faced we faced. I guess you could say it was a pretty bad Auburn team, but they always South Carolina, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, they always get up to play Georgia. They always do. And if you play a SEC schedule, I know Georgia. A lot of people making fun of Georgia's schedule, but you come play in the SEC, man, week in and week out. It's not easy. Also, 22 wins in a row. That's not easy to do, especially in the SEC. 22 win, especially in today's college football. That is not an easy thing to do, to win 22 games in a row. We play Kentucky this coming Saturday. Hopefully, we can make it 23. But Kentucky's going to be a tough competitor. We'll get to that later on in the show. But that's pretty much my observations. Defensive line's got to clean up offensively. I think our run game needs to get better. And you know, I cannot stop this conversation without mentioning Brock Bowers. Isn't he the best tight end in the country, or actually the best player in the country right now, Ballard?
He's got to be. And there's a lot of good players. We talk about all the quarterbacks we have in the Pac 12. We talk about some of the defensive guys on Georgia. We talk about some of the guys at Alabama, even. I know Alabama's struggling a bit, but Brock Bowers just seems like he's ready for the NFL. I think he's going to be a top 5, if not top 10 pick come April. So he's got to be one of the best guys out there. And if you don't have him as a Heisman finalist, you have failed as the Heisman committee.
I would totally agree because he is playing outstanding ball. Versus UAB, he went over 100 yards passing, and versus Auburn, he went over 150 plus yards passing. So, I think Georgia always. I don't know what it is about first halves this year, but Georgia, I don't know if they're trying, but it just seems like they're not, getting the ball into the end zone in the first half that much. We did come back from 10-0 and tied it up right before halftime, so that is good. But remember, to start the second half, we had the momentum, and what happens? Oscar Delp fumbles the ball. So then we lose all momentum. So, but we need to clean up just the simple mistakes. I think they're really simple mistakes that we need to clean up, and I think we'll be fine. A lot of people are, a lot of people are saying, "Well, Georgia's not the number one team." I probably have to disagree with you. Yeah, we don't look elite. I don't think any team in college football is elite right now. I really don't. I think Georgia is getting better and better every week, and I see potential for us later down the road to finally get elite. I don't really like talking about injuries, but injuries are a part of the game, so that's why I don't like making excuses for it, because I'm definitely not Ohio State or Alabama. But we had 22 total injuries on our roster, and almost half was starters on Georgia's team. So we're starting to get healthier. You saw our leading receiver from last year come back into this game, Lad McConkey, right? You saw him, and he made a bunch of crucial third down plays in the game. So glad to see him back. And then, you still got a bunch of injuries on the field, but, a lot of them has gotten back on the field. So I think there's room for improvement, and there's definitely room to get healthier as well on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and getting to, I think that game lived up to what it should be in a rivalry. I think that Auburn, you want to see them be competitive. You don't want to just go and blow out your rival. I know some people want to do that, but it's one of those things. Like, I think a good rivalry game has back and forth, Everyone giving it. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're great.
Okay. It added up there. So I was just saying that a good rivalry game should have both teams being competitive and giving it everything they got. And that's what happened with Georgia and Auburn this past Saturday. Want to look at another game, though. Let's talk about Alabama for a second. Of the Mississippi State game. And I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State is probably one of the worst teams in the SEC. Um, Not talking about Vanderbilt,
I knew
but
that was
out,
coming.
outside of Vanderbilt, I mean, they're pretty bad. They're a pretty bad team. Um, I mean, this new head coach comes in and changes from the air raid to running the ball. You got a quarterback that was really explosive last year, had a lot of passing yards, a lot of touchdowns and stuff, and then you completely change it up to like this ground and pound type of team. What are you doing? It was just, it's just not that type. I mean, changing up a whole scheme in the first year is just not going to work. Will Rogers needs to be slinging that ball down the field. Um, I don't know. Mississippi State's not that great. Um, they're a little bit better than Vanderbilt. I'll give them credit for that. But outside of that, they're not a great team. They'll miss a bowl game. They're going to get a lot of
No, they
losses.
won't. No,
Like,
they won't. They're playing in the Egg Bowl later. Don't leave it out.
oh well, I'm talking about a real bowl game, but um, I mean, it's just the fact that I mean, Mississippi State's a terrible team. Come on, dude. I mean, Alabama
No,
beat
they
them.
are. I mean, I'll say this. I think they took away the air raid because number one, that's just not part of Zach Arnett, the head coach. But I think also out of respect, like I think they saw it as only Mike Leach could do the air raid like he did, and his passing, blah blah blah. Like I think out of respect, they should have kept it. Like try to do what they could with it. Now, if people want to get mad at that, that's fine. I get it, but don't you gotta win. Like this should have been a year where Mississippi State did what it took to win because of Mike Leach. Washington State do what it takes to win because of Mike Leach. Texas Tech. I don't even know how those teams are doing this year. I haven't looked, but I mean Mississippi State. Come on, getting rid of the air raid because your coach passed away and you wanted. I'm at least assuming that's what happened. I mean, I know Zach Arnett's got his own mindset as a coach, but I thought I had heard something about getting rid of the air raid because of Mike Leach passing.
Well, I think it's what you said before. It's just not Zach Arnett's style, and he wants to bring in his style to Mississippi State, but it's not going to work this year, and it may not work next year. Will Rogers is a gunslinger. Let
Yeah.
him let him throw the ball. Right now, Carson Beck has almost um actually he has 400 more yards right now than Will Rogers, and Georgia is pretty balanced this year. We're doing a lot of run plays, and we're doing a lot of throw passing plays. We're Georgia's pretty balanced, I would say, on offense, and for Carson Beck to have 400 more yards up until this point is a crazy stat to me. You know, but I don't know. I think the offense doesn't fit well with Will Rogers and what Mississippi State has been in the last couple of years. So that's my thoughts on that. I think Alabama. They put up a what 40 burger on Mississippi
Yeah.
State. Um, it's always good to have a road win in the SEC. I'm not going to knock that. Alabama did look a little bit better than they previously looked. Y'all had a tough road environment as well. The Cowbells, everybody says Cowbells always give the other team some fits, but um, good win for Alabama, but I still think Mississippi State is outside of Vanderbilt probably the worst team in the SEC. I mean, I don't know. I think, and then if you want a team that's better than them, probably Florida or Arkansas, but they're all garbage. All of them teams I just named are hot diarrhea.
All right. Let's move on to our next topic. We're also going to do some pick'ems, but the big topic of the show, as you see by the title, selling the undefeated teams. Mayhem, what undefeated team right now, if you had to pick one, are you selling?
Like that's good.
That you're just not buying them being undefeated for too long.
Florida State. Yeah, that's an
Oh,
easy. Florida State's not staying undefeated for too long. Everybody already knew that. Everybody knows that. They still have to play Miami. I think they still got to play Duke. Um, and even if they do, they're not going undefeated. They're just not. They almost lost to a rotten Boston College team. Almost lost to a rotten Clemson team, which I thought was going to be elite this year, which turns out that they're just hot diarrhea. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if Louisville plays Florida State or not, but remember this, and remember I told you this, Ballard. Florida State still has to go on the road at the Swamp and play Florida, no matter how terrible Florida is. Remember what I say. No matter how terrible Florida is, Florida can still upset Florida State. Florida State has to go on the road at the Swamp, and if this is a night game, it might turn into a situation like Florida State might be in a situation like Tennessee was a couple weeks ago, and find themselves losing to a terrible Florida team. So yeah, they're definitely not staying undefeated for long. Yes, they look pretty good up until now. Should have already had two losses, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. I get it, but they're still undefeated. So hats off to them. They found ways to win. Florida State's been resilient up until this point. But yeah, I just don't see them going undefeated. Got too many teams in the ACC like Louisville, North Carolina, Miami, Duke. That could, I know Florida State don't play North Carolina, but I'm just saying you got too many teams in the ACC that could beat Florida State on any given Saturday. So my thought process is I see Florida State as the Tennessee from last year. Remember, everybody was saying Tennessee is definitely a lock for the playoffs, and then
mhm.
they ended up losing to you know Carolina at Carolina. Remember that?
Yep.
They thought they was going to just run over South Carolina and go right into the playoffs. And then what happened? Well, they suffered two losses, one to Georgia, one to South Carolina. And you know that Tennessee was the favorite to beat South Carolina, and they ended up losing. So I think this is a situation. I think they're the Tennessee from last year, and they might win 10 games. They might surprise me and win 10 games, but I think they go. I think their ceiling is 10-2.
Okay. Um, I'm going to go over to the SEC for the team I'm going to sell. And you might agree. You might disagree. I'm gonna have to sell Missouri right now. 5-0 is a great start, but they gotta host LSU. They gotta go to Kentucky. They gotta play South Carolina, and then to end the next four games, they got to go at Georgia. Now I know they gave Georgia a run for their money a little bit last year's game, but come on, we know Georgia's going to beat them. I'm going to say they lose at Kroger Field, and I think LSU gets them this weekend. So within the next month or so, I think they're going to take three losses. So I just this is going to be the biggest flop that we've seen. It's off to a good start for Missouri this year. I'm not trying to say they're not a good team, but let's be honest, man. Georgia's a lock for the East, and it's good to see that the teams have gotten better. But I think starting this weekend, you'll see a downfall for the Zoo. What do you think?
Does Missouri have to go on the road to LSU?
Uh, no, it's at home,
That's my
but I
upset
think
pick
it's
of the
close.
that's my upset pick of the week.
You think they win at home?
LSU's defense is an abomination to college football right now. It just is. Um, you let Ole Miss beat you. I mean, you should have steam. I mean, you should have steamrolled at Ole Miss. I don't care if it was at Ole Miss. I don't care. Hotty Toddy should have went to the potty, and they should have. I mean, they should have lost. Okay, um, it, you let Ole Miss put a 55 burger on your head. I mean, no, uncalled for. No, no. Sorry, not sorry, really.
Do you agree
Until
though? Like, go ahead and finish if you want to. Um,
until LSU finds a defense, I don't think they can outscore Missouri. I think Missouri can go toe to toe um, with this guy. With this team, LSU, and it's a home game for Missouri. Brady Cook is playing out of his mind right now. He's looking really great in games. They already beat at the time, Kansas State was ranked number 15. So you got to give credit, that field goal cooker, man, 61 yarder. But,
yeah,
anyways, Missouri beat Kansas State. Um, and I think that's an impressive win for Missouri. I really do, because I don't know anybody except for that one person in my comment section on the Missouri preview that said that Missouri was going to beat Kansas State. I think there's only one or two people in the world that thought Missouri was going to beat Kansas State. Everybody thought Kansas State was a for sure win against Missouri. Um, and I'm pretty sure Missouri went on the road and beat them, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think Missouri's playing good ball. I do think Missouri will eventually lose. Obviously, they got to play my Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know. Kentucky and Missouri is going to be a great matchup, but I would not be surprised to see Missouri come in second place in the East. Wouldn't
I
be
like
surprised.
that. I think I like that because I think going into the season, I think we looked at Tennessee as the second team, even though they lost all that stuff to the draft. All those guys are gone, and Hendon Hooker. Tennessee's not the second best team in the East. I would agree with you on Missouri though, but also I also kind of look at Kentucky, but I don't know. I'm selling Missouri. I just think there's going to be a fall coming. I think at Kentucky, South Carolina at home, you got to go to Georgia. You probably get Florida later on. You probably win close at Arkansas, but like I think even Tennessee going to the zoo might be a challenge. I don't know. They'll make a ball game, but I'm not. They're 5-0 right now. I'm gonna peg them. They finish probably 8-4. Is that a bit too low? You think?
Well, I'm saying Missouri's going to beat South Carolina. Missouri's going to beat LSU. Um, does Missouri go on the road to Knoxville?
Let me see here. Where is that game? No, it's at home.
It's at home. It's a possibility that Tennessee loses to Missouri. So that's three more wins. They could easily beat Florida. That's four more wins. And that's in conference wins. I mean, Missouri can have, let's just say we split that. Let's say they lose two of them and win two of them, right? Maybe I'm being too delusional. Um, let's just say they go 50-50 in that. So that's five, six, seven. That's seven wins without thinking, blinking, or farting right there. Um,
Yeah.
I'd say they 9-3. I think they beat Arkansas.
Is it
I mean,
possible though? Let me take you up on this. What if Missouri stays undefeated and drops only that Georgia game, and they're sitting there hypothetically 11-1? What if Missouri made the playoffs?
that would be crazy. I just don't think
Is that possible? You think? Like, do you think they could be
I
that good?
they have to go undefeated in order to make the playoffs. They just have to. And that's sad to say, but it's the honest truth because you got a bunch of teams still undefeated right now that look like they are going to go undefeated. There's a case where two Big Ten teams can make it, two Pac-12 teams can make it. Texas looks good, Oklahoma looks good. They face off this weekend. Um, you know, and I think there's too many teams that's going to have one loss for Missouri to be in that playoff race. So, unfortunately for the Missouri Tigers, they would have to beat Georgia. They would have to. I don't think it's going to happen. They would have to. I mean, their best win is versus Kansas State up until this point. Maybe if Tennessee, if they pull an upset over Tennessee, it depends on where Tennessee's ranked at that particular time. But they would have to pull off some good wins over some good teams. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, I think better resume is probably going to be in the Pac-12 this year, um, and maybe Penn State. I still think Penn State's going to win the Big Ten this year,
I'm
and
with you there, actually.
you could possibly have two Big Ten teams with only one loss: Michigan with one loss, and Penn State with one loss. Both of them might end up going. I mean, just too many teams might end up with only one loss this year, is what I'm saying, and they'll get left out. If it was let's say Georgia, Michigan, Penn State, Washington, Oregon, Southern Cal with all one losses, and Missouri, Missouri's going to get left out. You know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think
So,
Missouri pretty much has to go undefeated.
yeah. With that being said, there are any undefeated teams? Because I was thinking today before the show, I looked at the rankings and came out Sunday, of course, and I'm sitting here watching the rankings, and I'm looking at them. Is there an undefeated team that you look at and say, be careful because they could be a dark horse? I'll tell you who I like right now. I do not think they make the playoff because of where they play. I mean, we saw a group of five team get in once with Cincinnati, who's now in the Big 12. But I'll tell you a team I love this year is Fresno State. What do you think about a team like them? And then also undefeated teams right now in the rankings that you say be careful because they could sneak into that fourth spot.
Um, not really any teams that really come to my mind that could sneak into a playoff. Because everybody's high on Southern Cal, everybody's high on Oregon. I predicted in the offseason Washington to make the playoffs. Um, Georgia, obviously. Um, I think they'll probably go to the playoffs if they can finish undefeated. Even if they lose the SEC title, I think they're pretty much, as long as they go undefeated in the regular season, they're shooing for the playoffs. Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. Let me see if there's a dark horse. I really don't see much of a dark horse. I really don't. I think all the teams that we kind of expect to be great can potentially make the playoffs. There's not really a what I'm saying is there's not really a TCU this year. I just don't see one. And the best, if you're going to have a Cinderella story, it's going to have to start with Missouri. I guess. I don't really know. I
Yeah.
don't really know. I mean, I really don't think they're. I guess dark horse. I hate to say this. I hate them so much, but maybe you find Florida State in that race. But a lot of people are picking Florida State. We'll see. We'll see
You
once
wouldn't
conference.
even. Here's the thing, though. Florida State is still, regardless of how you feel about them, they are still the favorites for the ACC. Let me give you a couple teams to choose from real quick. Let's see if you change your mind here. You got a 4-0 Miami right now. You got a 4-0 North Carolina. You got Duke 4-1. They just took a major L, but you also got a 5-0 Louisville. So let's stick to the ACC for a second. Of those teams I just named, like, could you pick a dark horse out of there to maybe run the table in the ACC and maybe sneak up on Florida State?
Definitely, Miami's better than Florida State today. Yes, that's a fact. I don't think anybody's arguing with me on that. And then also North Carolina could sneak up on Florida State, but they don't play in the regular season, so they would have to be the ACC title, which I don't think Florida State is going to that. So, um, I don't think anybody's thinking Florida State is going to the ACC title. So, yeah. With that being said, it'll probably be Miami and North Carolina in the ACC title, and out of them, dark horse probably Miami or North Carolina. Really, any team. I would say out of the bunch you just named, the dark horse. Because I think Miami is. I don't think anybody's saying Miami's not a good team. I don't think anybody's saying that. I think everybody's pretty much saying Miami's the best in the ACC right now. Would you not agree?
I'm hearing that, and I just, yeah, I'm gonna have to put it aside. I do like Miami right now in the ACC. I would say Florida State might be behind them. I do think Florida State falls somewhere, and honestly, I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be to Miami. I think Miami's the team that'll probably get them. It wasn't Clemson. It wasn't LSU. It's not gonna be Florida, that's for sure.
You don't know that. I mean,
Well,
I
we
mean,
don't know that. That's true.
what if Florida State does the same thing Tennessee does, goes out there thinking they're going to win versus a crappy Florida team, and goes out and spreads a turd on the 50-yard line. So I mean, anything can happen in rivalry games. We just seen it this past weekend. Georgia was favored 14 and a half points to beat Auburn, and we didn't even cover the spread. We should have lost the game, really, to be honest with you. So anything can happen any given Saturday. My predictions for the offseason, I had Florida State losing to Florida. So, but I also had Florida State losing to Clemson too. So, and LSU. So I guess that's out the water. I guess my prediction ain't no good. But
Yeah.
I think right now Miami's the best in the ACC. I think North Carolina has an easy schedule to get to where they want to go. I think they go back to the ACC championship. Um, yeah, because I don't think North Carolina plays Florida State. North Carolina, I mean, I don't even think they play Clemson. I can't remember, but I looked at their schedule before, and North Carolina I don't think they have any tough competition.
I would agree. I would
But,
agree about their competition. I just like, you know, it's
but
so that's what's so good about this though this year is how good the ACC has become because it wasn't but 2 or 3 years ago we were saying how garbage the ACC was outside of Clemson. You remember all that?
yeah, I mean, I think some of these teams are going to start falling. I think Louisville's going to start falling. I think Duke's going to start falling. Duke is a really good team. I just think they had a upsetting loss that they should have beat Notre Dame, but they're going to start losing games now. Um, some of these teams are going to start losing, and then you won't hear about the AC. I do think maybe an ACC team makes the playoffs since Clemson broke my heart, but I had Clemson in my playoffs. That's not happening. Um, I still have Georgia in the race. I still have Penn State in the race, and I still have Washington in the race, and they're all undefeated right now. So my chances of getting 3 out of the 4 that I predicted are really high right now, and I think Georgia is capable of winning the SEC. And I think right now it might be Georgia versus Texas A&M in the SEC championship game. Speaking of Texas
Ooh,
A&M, speaking of Texas
okay.
A&M, I want you to kind of take me through this Alabama A&M game this weekend. Do you have any thoughts about the game? A little bit early thoughts. What you think? Take me through that. And
So I'm
what
glad you asked. I'm
what
so glad you asked.
my question is, what is it going to have to take for Alabama to win?
Milroe's got to have the game of his life. You remember a year ago when Bryce Young was hurt and he was on the bench, that Jalen Milroe was the guy against Texas A&M. He did put up 24 points. He struggled, and that's kind of where we got the narrative of like what Uncle Lou would say, Jalen Mildew, and he's not that good of a quarterback. So he's got to have the game of his life on the road in the SEC. Remember, Jimbo Fisher's the best Saban assistant out there because he was the first one to beat Nick Saban. I couldn't even say it without laughing. I couldn't even say it. I know Kirby Smart's the best. We know it. But Jimbo Fisher, we got to give him props for being the first ever Saban assistant to get an upset over Alabama. They pulled it off 2 years ago. How did they do it this year? Well, I think I last checked the other day that Connor Wegman, their quarterback, is out. Is that correct? He suffered
Yeah,
this injury, and it's it was brutal, man. Prayers up to the good Lord above for Connor Wegman. His stats are great though. 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, just shy of 1,000 yards. He's better than what Jalen Milroe has done. They love to throw the football out. They got Evan Stewart as their wide receiver. I think they got to shut down the run game. Honestly, I'll say this. I think A&M just has to hope the crowd is into this game, and they also have to hope that Alabama just makes a bunch of mistakes and they'll get the win. Hope for
yeah.
mistakes.
Here we go. Let's look at this. So you got Max Johnson actually as a quarterback for Texas A&M. Um, he went 17 of 28, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception versus Arkansas in the 34-22 win. Arkansas is a terrible team. I think everybody kind of knew that going in. If you watch Mayhem Matthews' preview video, you would have known Arkansas was going to be a terrible team. Um, I don't think anybody was, you know, saying that Arkansas was going to be a world beater of a team, but A&M does beat Arkansas. A&M has only lost one game, and that is to Miami. That's why I think Miami is the best in the ACC. I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but um, Florida State beat a two-loss, terrible defense LSU team, and that's just a fact. Everybody had LSU winning the West. Guess what? LSU is just a fraud, right? They were pretending in the offseason. Miami, they're not pretending. They beat A&M. I think A&M's a really, really good physical team. I think Jimbo's job is on the line this year, and he's playing some solid football. I think Bobby Petrino, it was the right move for this A&M offense. I think they still have a little bit of kinks and wrinkles to get out. They will be definitely tested against Alabama. A&M will be tested against Alabama's defense. I think Alabama's defense is going to keep Alabama in a bunch of games this year. I do think Alabama's offense is obviously they look good versus a crappy team, but give credit to Alabama. I still give credit to Alabama for scoring 40 points against the SEC opponent. So I'm not trying to discredit anything that Alabama's doing, but let's just call it ace ace and the spade a spade. It was a crappy team, and you know I think. I think A&M is going to be tested. I think Alabama, they've already been tested against Texas, but this is going to be their next test to see if they can beat A&M. A&M, don't y'all play on the road at Kyle
It's at
Field?
A&M. Yeah, it's
So
at
um,
A&M.
last time you played at Kyle Field, you lost. Last year at Bryant Denny, you was probably one pass away. If that pass was caught, you lose the game. I mean, it was
Yeah,
literally. I think A&M was in the red zone with a couple seconds left. They couldn't kick a field goal to win it because y'all was up by I think 4 points at that
yeah,
time. And then what happened was, well, he threw it to the most covered wide receiver there was. Made a bad decision, and well, Alabama squeaked out a win there. I think this is going to be a very very close game. I think whoever has the ball last, A&M versus Alabama, whoever has the ball last wins this game. I think it's going to be a very defensive game, and I think whoever scores, whoever scores 30 points is going to win the game. Matter of fact, whoever gets to 30 points first is going to win the game because A&M's defense is nothing to be playing around with. Um, and I don't think Alabama's defense is nothing to be playing around with either. Whoever has the
yeah,
better defense that Saturday is going to win. Whoever has the better offensive scheme drawn up, which to A&M's advantage, you have home field advantage, and I do think Max Johnson can get the ball, can throw the ball around a little bit more than Jalen Milroe. I'm not saying that Jalen Milroe's dookie or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think Max Johnson is just more experienced, from his time at LSU and the little bit of games he's played at A&M. I think he's more experienced quarterback, and I think he'll have the better stats at the end of the day. But stats don't win football games, right? Right, Clemson. But so with that being said, it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to keep Ballard on his head the whole game, and we'll
yeah.
see what happens.
I will. By the way, I will be live for the game this Saturday. I got Saturday off, so we'll go live for it. That being said, you ready to pick some games?
Yep. I mean, we talked about a few of them, but I'm ready to pick them.
Let's do it. Let's do it. College game day is going to be here. I don't know. Do you want to save it for last, or you want to go ahead and pick the Red River?
I'll pick whatever you want to pick.
All right, let's just go in order this week. Red River rivalry, Texas undefeated, Oklahoma undefeated. Been a minute since we've seen that because Oklahoma's kind of fallen off a bit. Texas has been average, but this year, a top 15 matchup. What's your thoughts on these teams?
So Texas obviously has good offensive line, good defensive line. Obviously, on the offensive side, Texas has Quinn Ewers, has A.D. Mitchell, has I can't think of the guy's name right off the top of my head, but y'all know who they got, right?
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy. There you go. See, I had it.
I
Got
said it first.
you got weapons all over the field. Offensively, Sarkeesian is arguably the best offensive mind in college football right now. So obviously, Texas is going to score points on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if Texas has outside. I mean, I will make a bold statement here. I don't think Texas's defense has really been tested this year. I mean, I know you look at the Alabama game and but Alabama was still trying to figure out their offense, and I still think Alabama's trying to figure out the offense till this day. I don't think Texas's defense has really been really tested, like really tested. Like this is their first true test for Texas's defense. Um, for Oklahoma, their offense is looking night and day difference between last year and this year. Dylan Gabriel's playing out of his mind. I think they got some explosive playmakers on offense. Defensive side of the ball, Oklahoma looks night and day difference better than they did last year. And the same thing I say about Texas, the same thing I say about Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma will be tested against Texas's offense. So I think the team with the better defense will end up winning this game. You got two great quarterbacks, two great offenses, bunch of playmakers on both teams. Um, this is a rival game, so you don't know what's going to happen in it. Oklahoma's coming off of last year. Texas beat them, 45, 48 to nothing or something like that. Um, I mean, I think it's definitely going to be a lot closer than that. And I'm going to go ahead and make my pick. Uh, I think Texas. Um, Listen, Steve Sarkisian is a great offensive mind. I've already gave him his flowers. He's probably the best, like I said, the best offensive mind in college football right now. I mean, if you wouldn't take Steve Sarkisian as the offense coordinator, you're silly, right? I mean, he's the best offensive mind in football, but he always finds every year there's this tradition with Steve Sarkisian. He always finds to lose a game that he shouldn't. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I'm picking Oklahoma to win this game. Um, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, it's a revenge game, they're mad or whatever. I'm not saying that because I think that's silly to say stuff like that. I mean, Texas wants to win this game just as much as Oklahoma does. They're both gonna be pumped up, ready to win. Texas is at home. So obviously Texas, the crowd environment is going to be there. But Oklahoma, I'm picking Oklahoma to win the game because I do think that I think Texas is just going to be tested, and I think Oklahoma finds a way to win this game.
I like the pick. This is a big rivalry, the Red River rivalry. This is the last one before they go off to the SEC. I like Texas to make the playoffs. Just because you like a team to make the playoffs and make a run at something doesn't mean they have to go undefeated. They can fall somewhere and get back up. I think I'm going to agree with you. I think I'm going to go Oklahoma here. Texas is good, got a great offense. I think they got a better offense than what Dylan Gabriel and um, Andre Anthony, if I'm saying his name right, something Anthony. 22 receptions, 387 yards for Oklahoma, a touchdown. Xavier Worthy on the other side for Texas. Texas has the offense to compete. I think it'll be a classic. I think it'll be close. But I think the defense at the end for Oklahoma stands tall, gets up, and gets a W. Let's go Sooners. Boomer. Boomer. Let's go. All right, next game. We already talked about this one a little bit. LSU and Missouri.
I already kind of spoiled that this game for me. Missouri's going to win the game until LSU proves that they got a solid defense. I'm picking Missouri. I mean, I think Missouri can probably score 70 on them if they wanted to. I mean, that is just their LSU's defense LSU's defense is the abomination of college football. It don't get no worse than that, folks.
And what's crazy is they have one of the better linebackers for the draft upcoming in Harold Perkins, right? I mean, is that crazy?
I mean, yeah, they got a couple of good defensive guys, but the secondary, man, Brady Cook, hey, Brady is gonna cook. Brady Cook's gonna cook. You know, you know that TikTok thing. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady Cook is going to cook. It's in his name. It's in his veins. Give me Missouri.
I think the difference is going to be the rush defense for Missouri. They've only allowed this year just under 75 yards rushing, and that's incredible. They had to pull away from Vanderbilt, I understand. Um, and for a offense, I think this is one of their first true tests outside of the Kansas State game where they won 30-27 and they had to kick a field goal to win it. So I think that was a huge win for them. Give me the Tigers to win.
Which one?
Give me the Zoo. That's right. We're talking about two Tigers. Here's the thing about LSU, man. They got to all the hype this offseason. So much hype, so much expectation. I think we both expected them to be great. They're just not what they were made up to be. I agree with you about the defense. I love offense, but holy crap, that defense is going to get exposed and torched on Saturday.
Yeah, it's already got exposed, but they are going to get torched.
Yeah. Give me if it'll scroll real quick. Hold on. There we go. Okay, this is interesting. NC State and Marshall. I don't really want to get too much in depth here, but Marshall is 4-0. NC State, Devin Leary is at Kentucky now. I love the Wolfpack defense, but that's really all I've seen that I really like from them. They're 3-2. What do you think?
So rumors are swirling that NC State is changing quarterbacks. They're going with MJ Morris now. Um, so I don't know if that's fake news or not. Somebody let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, from my understanding, NC State uh, is changing to MJ Morris. I can't remember who their other starting quarterback was, but he's no good.
Was it
Uh,
Armstrong or am I
yeah,
thinking of something?
Brennan Armstrong from Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So MJ Morris is probably going to start from the rumors that were swirling. We'll see if that actually happens or not. Um, Marshall, look, NC State. I've watched. Actually, this is going to surprise you, Ballard. I've watched a lot of NC State this year.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I really have. And the wins that they have does not impress me. They almost lost to UConn. Uh, they just they have struggled in every game they played. It's going to eventually bite them in the tail. This is where it bites them in the tail. Marshall, give me Marshall to win this game. Marshall, I haven't watched any Marshall, but they're 4-0. And I think Marshall is going to upset NC State. I wouldn't even call that an upset. Marshall is just a better football team than NC State. And I know people are going to say, "Well, how can you say that, Mayhem, if you haven't even seen Marshall play?" Well, I mean, based off of I mean, I'm basing what I've seen from NC State. NC State ain't going to get better in 1 week. I'm telling you. Marshall, they look like, undefeated. Uh, I'm going with the upset. I don't care if you roast me in the comments. Give me Marshall to win this game.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. I think Marshall being 4-0 has some momentum. NC State, by the way, they're only favored by 6.5. If I told you that, would you believe me?
I
Um,
I, I
they
would.
beat they beat teams like Virginia Tech. They've already handled the ACC a little bit, so they've gotten a little bit of a taste. They're going to play an interesting Wolfpack defense, but man, their offense is clicking right now, putting up 41 last week with Old Dominion in a shootout. They won by 6 in regulation. Give me Marshall. Give me the Go Herd. Did you ever watch that movie, by the way? We Are Marshall.
I haven't. I'm gonna have
It's
to
a
check
good
it
one.
out.
It's got Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right. Anyway, um, next up, UCLA and Washington State, who is number 13 and 4-0.
So I've watched UCLA play and Washington play, and based off of what I've seen from both teams, um, give me Washington State to win this game. Washington State. I'm gonna tell you what Washington State. This is their coach is a great coach. They have a really great coach. They're using the conference alignment bull jive for momentum in this season, right? I in that locker room, that coach has said, "No Power Five wants us. No Power Five wants us. Let's get out there and win. Let's get out there. Let's show them that we deserve a Power Five conference. We are elite. Let's show them. Let's show them the world. Let's prove everybody wrong. Let's go out there and whip some tail." He's giving momentum. He's giving a lot of momentum. Beating Wisconsin, beating Oregon State. They're coming into this UCLA game. UCLA, to me, I know they have that one loss. I think it was to Utah, right? Or
No, they lost. Let me see. They haven't lost.
UCLA did lose.
Oh, UCLA. I thought we were still talking Washington State. I'm sorry about that. Let me see. UCLA lost to Utah. Yeah, 14-7.
Yeah, that's the game I watched, and UCLA hasn't really showed me anything that can even touch Washington State's balls. Okay, um, I was gonna say jockstrap, but I mean they can't even touch their balls or the ball or their jockstrap, or they can't touch. I mean they can't even sniff Washington State's butthole. Okay, so I think uh, I think Washington State just penetrates UCLA. Give me Washington State. Washington State is a surprising team this year that, like I just said, that head coach is in that locker room giving probably Emmy award winning, like Oscar award winning um uh speeches, right? I mean, give me Washington State. They're playing
Yeah.
really good ball right now. They got all the momentum in the world. Nobody wants them in a conference. They're trying to prove the world wrong. I really like. I can't remember his name, but Washington State's quarterback is highly underrated. And I can't remember his name, but I've seen this man play. He's special.
Cameron Ward and Washington State are phenomenal offensively this year. That's who the quarterback is, since Mayhem couldn't remember. But and then you got Nakai Watson, who's got 2 rushing touchdowns. He's averaging 3.7 a carry, but they are airing the football out a lot. 35 carries, 128 yards for Watson on the ground. You got, of course, Josh Kelly, who's got 5 receiving touchdowns. That's huge. I love seeing Washington State do this good. They're a top 15 team. UCLA is unranked. UCLA could play in this game for a little bit, but I think Washington State and how they're running the football right now and how strong that O-line looks, man, they're going to pound it on UCLA's hind end this Saturday. And they're gonna score a lot of points, I think. So give me Washington State.
Oh yeah, Washington State.
Oh boy.
Let's go back. Let's go back to this one. We can save this
Okay,
one for
okay,
last
okay. We'll come
because
back.
I don't.
This
I mean,
one's interesting. This next one's interesting here.
yeah,
No, it's not. You got Purdue.
two terrible teams.
But between the two, I think I trust Iowa more.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Let's go with Iowa because of their defense. The only way Purdue wins this game is they got. I know this sounds cliche, but they got to score touchdowns. I mean, that's obviously how you win every game. But Iowa's defense is extremely good, and if you score more than 25 points on Iowa, you probably win the game. So that's why I'm saying you got to score a couple touchdowns to beat Iowa. But can you score on Iowa? That's the question that I have. So give me Iowa to win over a Dookie. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
This one I don't want to get into too much detail. I probably picked the 4-1 Texas State over Louisiana, who's 3-2. But do you have any thoughts on this game?
Um, don't know too much about the teams. I'm gonna give the home team the edge. I know Texas State is 4-1, but they're not gonna stay 4-1. Louisiana Raging Cajuns are 3-2. They're not gonna stay 3-2. They're both probably terrible teams. Give me Louisiana Raging Cajuns just because they're the home team. I don't really know too much about these two teams other than their record, and I just don't want to go with the record. I'm gonna go because I'm gonna just be the opposite and say Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
All right. So we'll disagree on that one, which is fine. But oh, oh man, this is good. Do we want? Let's see what else there is. Is this another one we have to come back to? Fresno State, Wyoming, TCU. Oh yeah, we'll come back to that Notre Dame one too. Fresno State. I got to thinking about them earlier, and I know we talked about it at the beginning of the show, and I talked to you a little bit about it. I love Fresno State this year, man. I think they got to be one of the best group of 5 teams out there. Wyoming's a good team too, but I think Fresno State is on a roll. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say this, but for Fresno State, go Bulldogs,
What?
go Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's Bulldogs. That's the Bulldogs Junior. Okay, but Wyoming their only losses to Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they're 4-1. Fresno State's 5-0. The AP thinks Fresno is playing out. I haven't really seen nothing from both teams. I did watch Wyoming get beat by Texas, but remember Wyoming held on until the fourth quarter, wasn't it? Like tied up going into the fourth quarter, 10-10.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then obviously Wyoming don't have the depth that Texas does, and then Texas ended up winning like 31-10 or something or 34-10 or something like that. Fresno State, I really haven't seen nothing. I don't really watch. I don't sit down and watch Fresno State football. So, um, you know, but I'm gonna go with your choice. I'm gonna go with your pick and say Fresno State. They're ranked for a reason. Um, let's go Bulldogs.
2-3 Iowa State hosting a 3-2 TCU. I'll let you get the first word.
Um, hmm. TCU's only 2 losses are to West Virginia, which is 4-1, and to Colorado, which now suffered their second loss, but they hung in there with Southern Cal, 48-41. Iowa State, I think they lost to Iowa, and I don't know the other teams that they lost to, but I think I'm going with TCU in this matchup. Um, it's just that Iowa State, the one game I watched from them, I've watched more TCU than I've watched Iowa State. I've only watched one game so far from Iowa State, and that was the Iowa State game. Huh. Didn't really impress me, but TCU, I think is just a better team. I'm not saying that TCU is a great team because they're not, but I will definitely go with the better head coach as well. Give me TCU.
TCU has basically a 65% chance to win the game. Chandler Morris, he's got 3 picks, but he's got 11 touchdowns. It's not what the offense was last year, which, by the way, last year's offense only scored 7 in a national title game. Okay. Um, and but it's at Jack Trice. I look at Iowa State. They lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Iowa. They lost 10-7 to Ohio. Not Ohio State. I'm talking about the Bobcats. Okay? The Bobcats.
What was that?
I don't know what the hell that was. I'm going to go TCU. Oh, we're keeping that in here. Oh, okay. Let's go back up and pick this one. This will be a good game.
Hold on, hold
Notre
on, hold on. I want to say something before we
Yeah.
get to that. So like I want to address something to all college football fans. Okay, college football is not transitive property, and because I like what Ballard said about TCU only scored 7 points in the national championship game. Okay, so by a lot of college football fans' logic, right? Oh, well, this team only beat this team by this many. So that means we could beat y'all by double this many, right? Which is ridiculous. That's the most stupidest logic. Football is all made up of matchups, right? Um, and TCU and Georgia was just obviously a mismatch coming into the game. Um, I will say this: I think Texas and Alabama last year, Texas only lost by 1 point to Alabama, but then turns around and lays a turd against TCU. TCU beats them by 7 points? So you mean to tell me by the college football logic, right? By these idiot college football fans, you mean to tell me that Georgia would have beat Alabama 65-0 because TCU would have beat Alabama by 6 points because Alabama only beat Texas by 1 point? I mean, that's idiotic. You see how stupid that sounds, right? Really idiotic, really stupid. So whenever people say, well, you only won by 7 points against a terrible Auburn team, so that means Florida State, they beat LSU teams by, I don't know how many points, like 17 points or whatever it was. Oh, that means we could beat you by 2 touchdowns. Come on, dude. Really? Really? Stop it. You're stupid. So, anyways, I just wanted to go on that rant. Uh, and to all these college football fans, I'm not saying all of them are stupid. I'm just saying there is a portion of college football fans that do that, and you know that, Ballard. Well, we only lost by this many points, and so we can beat you by this many points because you only beat them by this many points, right?
Yeah.
That ain't how football. That is not how football works. So stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
All
And
right, continue.
speaking of the transitive property, Notre Dame and Louisville is our last pick here. It should be.
No,
Let me
it's
see.
not. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No,
Hold
one
on.
more.
What else do we have?
A&M, Alabama.
Oh yeah. We'll do that one last. We'll do Notre Dame, Louisville, which actually could be a good matchup. Louisville, only 9% of people have picked them. 5-0, 25th in the nation. They have more total yards offense, passing, rushing, total than Notre Dame right now. Notre Dame comes into this game 6.5. It's at Louisville. Speaking of the transitive property, both of these teams have a common opponent, North Carolina State University. Now, Louisville won 13-10 over them, whereas Notre Dame blew them out 45-24. So does that mean that Notre Dame is going to blow out Louisville? No,
No,
no. It's,
that ain't how it
it's not what
works.
that means. In fact,
Exactly.
Mayhem, I might shock you here. I'm going to go with the ACC. I'm going to go with Louisville in this one.
This is going to be a really close game. Um, I don't know who I want. I mean, obviously, I want Louisville to win. Louisville, the bird with teeth. Oh man, I don't know who I'm going with because Notre Dame's defense is the truth, aren't they?
It is. Yeah.
Louisville's defense is pretty good as well, but are they as good as Notre Dame's? I like Sam Hartman. I have a lot of respect for Sam Hartman, especially for the things he's done on the college football field and off the field. I think Sam Hartman is just a stand-up guy. I think I have a lot of respect for him. On the other hand, Jeff Brom, first-year head coach, and I even have a YouTube short out there that I said Louisville is just garbage, and I laughed. I laughed. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a YouTube short on my channel saying, Louisville's garbage. I don't know why we're previewing Louisville because they're garbage. I'm sorry, Jeff Brom. I'm sorry. So I don't know because I really don't think. I think Notre Dame should have probably lost to Duke. I think Duke on that 4th and 16 or whatever it was, that was the last play of the game. And Sam Hartman ran 16 yards for a first down to keep hope alive. Probably should have lost to Duke. Does Notre Dame keep hope alive in this game? Oh man, this is hard. I think
See, the
Louisville.
thing about
I think Louisville suffers their first loss. I really do. Give me Notre Dame to win this game.
I just
I
look
can't.
at
I mean, it's going to be a nail biter. I think. I think this point. I think the. If I had to put the spread on it right now, I would say Notre Dame minus 5.5.
I'm changing my pick. I don't know what I was smoking that I picked Louisville. Which, by the way, if you pick Louisville in this game, that's not a bad pick. I mean, if you think they're going to pull an upset, because shocker, it happens in college football, that's fine. I think it's close, but I think you're right. I just Sam Hartman's that dude this year, and they have looked pretty good this year. They're trying to get over still that Ohio State loss, and they got over it pretty well, close against Duke. They showed that they can win a close game. Meanwhile, Louisville struggled with NC State. We already talked about NC State. They blew out Boston College, but they gave up 28 points. They did um, beat Georgia Tech week one. And I know how you feel about Georgia Tech. And because you're a Georgia fan, I feel differently. But Notre Dame should go into this game, not like curb stomp, but they have enough in them to where they can get the job done. And I think Louisville will take a second loss. They're one game away from being bowl eligible. I say second loss. I apologize. They're undefeated, so they'll take their first loss. Still very much alive for the ACC playoff, all of that. But they got to fall somewhere. If they lose this, let me ask you this: does it drop them out of the top 25 right then and there?
I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, it depends on what people ahead of them do, but I would assume so. That yeah, it probably would drop them out of the top 25. I think Louisville probably should still be ranked if they keep it close with Notre Dame, which I think is going to happen. I don't think Notre Dame's going to blow them out. I thought Notre Dame was going to blow out Duke last week, and I was totally wrong. So I'm saying that that Louisville is going to stay in this game. This is going to be a very close game. I think this is going to be a very defensive game, and I don't think anybody in that game scores more than 30 points. I don't. I don't think. I would. I would say I don't even think both of them score more than 25 points. I think it'll be like a 24-20.
Okay.
Notre Dame. I think that's a realistic score. I think Notre Dame will find a way to win this game like they did last week. And I can also see a scenario where Louisville wins because it's on the road. Notre Dame has to go on the road. Um, and so, yep, I think Notre Dame wins, but it's not going to be a convincing win. It's not.
All right. And we still have to pick, at least on here, Alabama, Texas A&M. We talked a little bit about it. We talked about Kyle Field. We talked about 2021. Listen, Alabama in 2021 lost to A&M by a field goal. Alabama then returns the favor and wins by 4 the next year. So they've struggled with Jimbo Fisher a little bit. This is at Kyle Field. In that 2021 game, they didn't have Bryce Young and Will. They had Bryce Young and Will Anderson. They don't have them this year. We've been saying that all season. Oh, you don't have this guy. You don't have that guy. You don't have this guy. Don't have that guy. I know. I think Alabama is set to fall somewhere else. I don't know if it's this game though. I think that they could play it close. It's 3:30 game on CBS. It's at Kyle Field. I don't know if it's a sold out crowd. I don't know. But Texas A&M looks pretty good too. Both teams 4-1, still alive for the West in the SEC. Who are you picking in this game officially?
I'm going to say this. Both teams have an elite defense. Both teams do. Um, but do both teams have an elite offense? No. A&M, in my opinion, is probably the best in the West right now. Give me A&M to win. I know they don't have their starting quarterback, but they got Max Johnson. He's an experienced quarterback, and I'm going with the experienced quarterback play in this game because both of them have elite defenses. I think A&M is going to be able to stop the run attack. Alabama's just been kind of, you know, playing around with these teams with running the ball and winning close games. That doesn't happen in this game. A&M is going to be I mean, I wish I could go to this game. It's going to be massive stadium, rocking and rolling. They're going to remember what happened 2 years ago. Jimbo, it seems like he only wants to win 1 year or one game a year, and that's this game. Um, Everybody be watching this game. Probably a bunch of recruits for A&M is going to be at this game. Um, A&M, give me A&M to win it. Probably, I mean, I would say 31-28 A&M.
I don't know about a score yet. We'll do that for Tidal Wave Talk this week. But I sit here listening to you. I sit here thinking, and I'm thinking, Jalen Milrow had his first ever start against this team last year, and it was at home, and he struggled. He's got to go on the road in this environment. He's probably going to struggle. I do think the offense has gotten better each week, and I do think it's looking pretty good right now. But A&M's got a strong defense, man, and Jimbo Fisher knows Nick Saban. He knows what it takes to beat him. He's done that. It's only a 2.5 point spread. I don't know about a score yet. Like I said, we'll get to that Friday. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Alabama win it all this year. I do. But man, you just got to face the facts. It's probably not going to happen. They're going to drop some games. I think this is the next one. Give me Texas A&M here.
Yeah, and then we'll get to see
That's all the pig.
the crybaby Saban after this game and saying, "Well, we still deserve to be in the playoffs even with 2 losses," and we're going to get to hear that all year long. So, yeah, A&M is going to win this game, and well, we only lost by 2 or 3 versus A&M. But we lost by double digit. We only lost by like less than 2 touchdowns all year long, so we deserve to be in the playoffs. So we're gonna hear that crybaby routine all year from Nick Saban. But we know Alabama is just not the Alabama of yesteryear, and that's my thoughts. I think it you have 2 elite defenses. Um, and 2 offenses that aren't elite. I think A&M has a really good offense, not great. And then I think Alabama has a uh, what's the word I'm looking for? They have a offense that is good enough to win them games, to stay in games. Anyways, they have a defense to stay in games, but they have an offense. A what's it called? Like a I don't know, like
It's
there's a word
average.
it is really average, but I was thinking about a word, but it can't come to me right now. So I'll think
Is
about
it competitive enough? Like, are you looking for competitive or
it's
what?
just basically it's it's mid. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
mid tier offense. It's not nothing to hoop and holler about. It's not like Alabama fans are saying Jalen Milrow for Heisman, or and it's not like Alabama fans are saying, well, we got this wide receiver that's better than Marvin Harrison, or we have a tight end better than Brock Bowers, or anything like that. It ain't nothing special. I mean, you got Jermaine Burton, you know, a former UGA wide receiver that couldn't beat out Loud McConkey. That's why he transferred to Alabama to start. So I mean, other than that, what do you really got? I mean, I hate to be like that, but it's just uh, that offense is capable of not losing you a game, and then your defense is elite enough to win you games. Is what I'm saying. Um,
yeah.
but there's a word I'm looking for. I just can't think of it, but whatever. I think I've already made my case though.
Well, Mayhem, I think we've reached the end of the show for today. It is 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central. Your final word on the show for today, as far as college football and what's happening on your channel.
So, whenever this comes out, it'll be Tuesday. So I will have a video already out. So if you're watching this video, go check out the video I just posted, which would be today, but you're seeing this on Tuesday. So go check that out, my recent video, and hit the like button. And if you really like the videos, hit the subscribe button. All of it's completely free. It just makes it just puts a smile on Mayhem Matthews' face for you to hit the subscribe button. That's all it does. It don't you don't have to pay nothing. I'm not asking you for a single dollar. It just it just makes me smile. So if you want to see Mayhem smile, just to see you smile, then hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It does wonders, and for me. So also Ballard, if you want to subscribe to him, subscribe to my boy Christian Ballard of Ballard Sports Media. He puts out some top tier content. He's doing his sportscaster stuff, and he's working hard, around his schedule, and he's still putting out great content for y'all. So go give him a like and a subscribe, He's putting in the grind, even though he has a work schedule that's tough. Trust me, I know all about that type of shift that he's working. So, yeah. So please give him a like and subscribe because he's putting in a lot of hard work here on YouTube.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Y'all heard the man. Hit that thumbs up. Go subscribe to Mayhem Matthew. And if you're watching on his, well, we're probably just going to upload it on mine. But either way, subscribe to both channels. We love you and roll tide.
Go Dogs.